Hello, and welcome to a video presentation on subtracting integers. Here's what you'll learn: how to subtract integers. Now, before we begin, please note, this presentation involves solving integer subtraction problems by turning them into addition problems, and then using a special process I call SSDD. If you are unfamiliar with adding integers and SSDD, you may want to watch my video titled Adding Integers first. To subtract integers, it can be helpful to turn them into addition problems. Then we can solve them using SSDD. Turning subtraction problems into addition problems is a simple two-step process. First, change subtraction operations to addition operations. Secondly, change the sign on the next number. Let's look at this example: 13 minus a positive 22. To begin the problem, let's turn subtraction into addition. That just means we'll replace the subtraction sign with an addition sign. Then we change the sign on the next number. So positive 22 will become negative 22. Now that we have an addition problem, we can use SSDD. And remember, SSDD stands for same signs find the sum, different signs find the difference. Since the signs on 13 and 22 are different, we find the difference between the two numbers. Perform the subtraction by ignoring any negative signs. Take the larger number 22 and subtract the smaller number 13. 22 minus 13 is 9, so let's write down 9. But we're not done. We have to determine which number would be larger if both numbers were positive, because our answer always takes the sign of this larger number. Since 22 is larger than 13, our answer must be a negative 9. So 13 plus negative 22 is negative 9. Subtract 5 minus a negative 24. First, begin by writing down the problem: 5 minus negative 24. Now change the problem to addition by changing subtraction into addition. Then change the sign on the next number. Negative 24 will become positive 24. Using SSDD, we now know we have to find the sum, because the signs on 5 and 24 are the same, both positive. The sum of 5 and 24 is 29, so let's write that down. And it will be a positive 29, since the larger number 24 is also positive. So 5 minus negative 24 is 29. Let's subtract negative 43 minus 7. Let's begin by writing down the problem: negative 43 minus 7. Now change the problem to addition by changing subtraction into addition. Then change the sign on the next number. Now in this problem there doesn't appear to be a sign on 7. If you don't see a sign on a number, then it's a positive number. So for clarity, let's go ahead and replace 7 with positive 7, just like this. When we do that, it's easy to see we change the sign on the 7 from positive to negative. With our problem converted to addition, we can now use SSDD. Since the signs are the same, we will find the sum of 43 and 7, which is 50. We'll write that down. And our answer will be negative 50, since the larger number 43 is also negative. So negative 43 minus 7 is a negative 50. Let's subtract 5 minus 9 in parentheses, minus negative 2 plus 7 in parentheses. First, let's begin by writing down the problem. Now, the order of operations tells us we have to work with parentheses first. So we're going to start with the leftmost parentheses, 5 minus 9. First, let's change the operation to addition. So we could write down 5 plus, because we're changing subtraction to addition to start. Then we have to change the sign on the next number. Remember, if you don't see a sign on a number, it's a positive number. So this was 5 minus a positive 9. So let's change the sign from positive 9 to negative 9. With our problem converted to addition, we can now use SSDD again. Since the signs are different, we will find the difference between 9 and 5. That answer is 4. So we'll write down 4. And it will be a negative 4 since the larger number 9 is a negative. So 5 plus negative 9 reduces down to the answer negative 4. Now let's bring down the rest of our problem, the minus negative 2 plus 7 in parentheses. And we can work with the other set of parentheses now, the negative 2 plus 7. This is already an addition problem, so we can use SSDD directly. Since the signs are different, we'll find the difference between 7 and 2. That answer is 5, so write that down. And it will be a positive 5, since the larger number 7 is positive as well. So negative 2 plus 7 can be replaced with the number 5. Now there's one final subtraction problem left to solve. Negative 4 minus 5. Let's change the subtraction problem into an addition problem. Then we can use SSDD. Now the problem is negative 4 minus a positive 5, because remember, we don't see a sign on the 5, so it's a positive. So let's write that as negative 4 minus a positive 5. And now we can change subtraction to addition. And our last step, change the positive 5 to a negative 5. SSDD tells us, since the signs are the same, we find the sum of 5 and 4. That's a 9, so we'll write down 9. And are we going to have a positive or negative 9? Well, since 5 is larger than 4, our answer will take the sign from the 5 to become a negative 9. Let's do one more problem, and we'll make it a word problem. The highest temperature ever recorded on Earth is 136 degrees Fahrenheit. The lowest temperature ever recorded is negative 129 degrees Fahrenheit. What is the difference between these temperatures? Well, we need to create an expression we can solve. And when you're asked to find the difference between two numbers, we know that's subtraction. We're going to subtract the smallest number from the largest number. In this case, positive 136 is larger than negative 129. So we're going to set up the following expression. The larger number, 136, minus the smaller number, negative 129. Next, change the problem to addition by changing the operation from subtraction into addition. And finally, the sign on the following number goes from negative 129 to positive 129. Since the signs on both numbers are positive, SSDD tells us to add them. The sum of 136 and 129 is 265. So let's write that answer down. And since 136 is larger than 129, our answer will be a positive 265. But we're not going to leave it like that because this is a word problem and we have units to put on there. So it's a positive 265 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the difference between those two extreme temperatures. Now I want to say one final word on subtracting integers. Please note, when you are changing the operation from subtraction to addition and changing the sign on the number immediately after the subtraction operation, please make sure you are changing the sign on the next number only. For example, if you have a multi-term expression like this, 10 minus 8 plus 15 minus a negative 6, we will change the subtraction portions of the expression to addition. And we change the signs on the positive 8 and the negative 6. Those are the numbers immediately after each subtraction operation. But remember this, do not change the operation or sign on the 15 in the middle. Congratulations! You've learned how to subtract integers.